Alright, I am Tahuti Kepura Iteru. Now in this video right here, I just want to do a quick breakdown of the new movie, Doctor Strange. Now a few people have been asking me to decode this movie, Doctor Strange. So you know what I'm saying, so I just want to take the time out to deal with this Doctor Strange joint right here. You see what I'm saying? So let's deal with this Doctor Strange joint. Alright, so now this movie can be decoded from three levels. It can be decoded from three levels: the physical level, the metaphysical slash spiritual level, and also the occult level, right? The occult level. So we're going to start off with the physical level. Now, the movie spoke about multiverse, right? The multiverse. Now, which is that the multiverse now deals with string theory, and now the string theory is saying that in the beginning of the universe there was these vibrating strings of energy, these vibratory frequencies, and these vibratory frequencies then gave birth to the various atoms, the various particles and atoms, protons, neutrons, and electrons that gave birth to the various elements and the energetic or the forces of nature of this reality, right? But the whole thing with the string theory is that what they're saying, that there's multiple different variations of these strings, therefore multiple possibilities, multiple variations of realities that can exist. But what they say dealing with this string theory is that when these vibratory strings, when they produce these realities, it doesn't just produce one universe at any given time. It can produce multiple universes at any given time. So you can have multiple universes running simultaneously. So that's the whole thing dealing with this string theory. So rather than say the universe, they like to say the multiverse. So that's the whole aspect of the multiverse dealing with this string theory right here. But again, I'm going to go deep into that into another one upcoming videos, but we don't want to speak too much about that right now. But you see, now the metaphysical spiritual level. Right now we're going to go into the metaphysical spiritual level, and this whole thing was the damaged hands. He was in a car accident now and damaged his hands. Now, it's got nothing to do with the hands, right? It's showing you a spiritual level right here, because even if he was a football player, he would have damaged his feet. So what they're showing you is that what it represents is that in order to get into this occult realm, in order to get into this spirituality, to go on your spiritual path, what needs to happen is that you need to completely surrender yourself to the occult. You need to completely surrender yourself to this spirituality, right? So you have something that you have to end your life. So your current life, you have to end your life, because his whole life was dealing with his hands. He had to, he was a neurosurgeon dealing with his hands. So when he lost his hands, that was the end of his life, right? So we're saying you have to get into this occult. You have to completely surrender yourself to the occult. You have to surrender yourself to the spirituality, because a lot of you guys now, not necessarily my subscribers, but a lot of people, these spiritual people, they're in and out. They haven't completely surrendered themselves to the occult. You see what I'm saying? They haven't completely surrendered themselves to the spirituality, and no wonder why certain spiritual concepts that they can't grasp, because you're not completely surrendered yourself to it. You're in and out. You see what I'm saying? You have to completely surrender yourself, and that's what they're talking about dealing with this metaphysical spiritual level, right? And that's why when he got into the temple now, and she showed him all the different things, he was on his knees with his hands like this, on his knees, saying, teach me. You see what I'm saying? Teach me. You see what I'm saying? Because he's on his knees for the occult. And that's what you have to be. You have to be on your knees for this. You have to surrender yourself to the occult right here. Right? You got to surrender yourself to it. And also what it showed, another spiritual aspect, what it showed was the ego versus spiritual aspiration. Because he was so egotistical and so arrogant, he couldn't get the knowledge. He couldn't get the knowledge. His arrogance was stopping his spiritual aspiration. So it's on Seth versus Heru. His ego, his arrogance stopped him from, getting into the knowledge. You see what I'm saying? So your ego suppresses your capacity for consciousness. And you have to humble yourself to the knowledge. You see? Now we wanted to go into the occult realm. So again, that was just the physical and the spiritual. But really, it was an occult movie. It was a very occult movie, right? Now we're going to go into the occult realm. So now, if you notice now, before entering the temple, right? When he's looking for the temple, asking for directions, and before he entered the temple now, he got into a little fight, and the fight was over his watch. right? It was over his watch. They wanted his watch, right? And then what happened was that he got into the fight. They beat him up now, and the watch broke. But then the black guy came. I think his name was Mordo or something like that. He came now, and he beat them up now, and gave him back his watch. But see, when he got into the temple, if you notice, if you pay close attention, what happened was that he took off the watch, right? But then at the end of the movie now, he put the watch back on. Now, why the reason why that's so deep is because what they're trying to show you is that what's this whole movie, we're not talking about the physical realm. We're not talking about the things you see in your everyday life. Because now the watch, these are 24 hours. Because the sun governs time on this planet. You know what time it is based on the sun, right? So by him breaking the watch now, by him taking the watch off and putting it back on, showing how what's taking place in this movie, we're not talking about linear time. We're not talking about the time and this physical realm that you see with your two eyes. We're not talking about that. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about a deeper concept. So the whole movie was really talking about different occult concepts that they were personifying, right, as physical attributes and giving it as physical characteristic to explain the occult. So the whole movie was just basically personification right here. You see metaphors right here. You see. So the movie was basically talking about the mind. So now let's deal with this mind concept right here. So the movie was dealing with magic. Now the whole thing with magic is that what they're dealing with magic is that it's about manipulating the forces of the universe, right? Manipulating the forces of the universe. And those patterns that you saw that they were doing, those patterns are sigils and mandalas. Now the sigil now is a programmed image that dictates a certain concept to the user. So the person who created the sigil is encoded with certain type of characteristics and concepts that dictate something to your own mind. So that's the sigil. And the mandala now, again, is an archetypal. It's these archetypal principles that essentially are encoding concepts. That's what the mandala and the sigil is encoding certain concepts into depictions. You see. Let's see. So what else we got here? Yeah, so all the weapons in the movie were just different concepts of the mind. Everything they were talking about in the movie was a representation of the astral plane, which is the deeper level of the subconscious mind. That's what they're talking about. So the whole movie was just dealing with the mind. It was nothing physical, right? It was nothing physical. No. If you notice, whenever he was injured in the movie, right, they would go to the hospital, right, showing how illness and disease first manifests on the astral plane because he was injured. With those weapons that they were producing, he was injured on the astral levels. He was injured on the mind because the whole movie was talking about the mind. So those fights you were seeing, they weren't physical fights. They were talking about the mind. So when he was injured and they stabbed him, and then he got rushed to the hospital, showing how illness and disease first manifest on the planes of the mind, the astral plane, and then it manifests on the physical. Right. Also, it shows something that Bobby Hemmett spoke about, how was that a lot of these temples were also hospitals, right, where they would operate on you, but the operation that they would do on you was really a last resort. The operation was really a last resort, right? But the real healing was the human mind, you think? The human mind, so. Also, the movie also spoke about death. So now when the Ancient One died now, she fell from the rooftop, right? And she hit the ground. But see, her injuries was no different to Doctor Strange injuries when he, had the car crash. But yet he survived and she died because death is a choice, right? You only die when it's your time. So she chose to die. She chose that it was her time to die, right? Whereas Doctor Strange now, he had a higher purpose now. So he carried on living. So again, it's showing how death is really but the choice. You only die when it's your time to die. You see what I'm saying? It's not about the injuries. You only die when it's your time, right? Now, another occult concept here is this. The movie, if you notice in the movie, they had this sling ring and they were drawing these circles. Now, that circle is the magic circle, right? And when they drew that magic circle, it opened a portal to anywhere in the world. Now, dealing with it on the occult realm now, this magic circle, what we're dealing with now with this magic circle, right? What we're dealing with is that it's basically a tool that the magician uses to tap into the universe, right? It's a tool the magician uses to tap into the universe to begin making changes in the universe at will. So that's the magic circle right there. You see what I'm saying? So that's why, again, that's why they're going to different. That's why. So it wasn't actually a portal. It's a magic circle. Again, you know, it's an occult concept right there. So those people who are into the occult, you know what that is, right? Okay. Now the mirror dimension. Now the mirror dimension represents the personal subconscious. So in the Jungian psychology now, you know what I'm saying, Carl Jung psychology, you have the conscious mind, the personal subconscious, and then you have the collective unconscious or the collective subconscious. So the mirror dimension was your own personal subconscious, and what they were saying is that what happens in the mirror dimension, it doesn't affect the external world, and it's like almost like a protective realm because it's talking about your own subconscious, right? So the fears in your mind and the deep-seated fears in your mind only affect you, right? They only affect you. And the different fantasies and different things in your own subconscious, they only have an effect on you and your own reality, you see. It doesn't affect the reality of anybody else. It only affects your reality because it's your own personal subconscious. So that's the mirror dimension right there, right? Now the dark dimension, and Dormammu or whatever his name was, is dealing with melanin, right? That's melanin, dark matter. You know, Satan is a demonology or the dark stuff, the dark side. You see what I'm saying? That's what he's dealing with right there. Melanin right there. You see? Now this part is deep. Now this part's deep now. So now the movie spoke about this amulet called the Eye of Agamotto, and this book of Cagliostro or something like that, right? Now this amulet now was allowing him to essentially play with time, right? So he was going back in time, reverse in time, but also going forward in time, right? But then he used it at the end of the movie, right? But if you notice, he wasn't actually bringing anyone back to life. He was reversing the events, but what took place was destruction. So in so many words, right? He was essentially rebuilding all of the destroyed material realm. But see, they put the time in there to throw you off. It's got nothing to do with time. They put the time in there to throw you off. What they're really talking about there was alchemy. They were talking about alchemy because, again, the only thing, he wasn't bringing anyone back to life. The material world was destroyed. Then he was rebuilding it. So he's talking about manipulating matter. That's the amulet, right? It was talking about alchemy, changing states of matter. But the reason why it's an eye is dealing with this. I'm going to go more deeper into this in my upcoming video. The reason why it's an eye is because alchemy now is changing the states of matter. But matter is atoms. Matter is based on atoms, but matter is based on molecules, and the molecules are based on atoms, but the atoms is the protons, neutrons, and electrons, but it's the electrons forming bond with other electrons that produce the different molecules that make up matter. It's the electromagnetic bond that the chemical bond that the electron has to other electrons that produces matter. So the alchemist, and it's the eye because the electron has a dual nature, a particle wave nature. So it manifests. So anytime it's a wave, but it manifests as a particle when you begin to observe it. Hence the eye, right? So having the eye there showing. So it's a deep concept, right? Having the eye there showing you that what we're talking about here is the manipulation of matter. But matter is only matter when you're observing it. The electron is a particle when you're observing it, and it's the electron that makes up the atomic bond now that makes up the molecule that makes up the matter. So it's the eye because we're dealing with quantum physics, we're dealing with quantum mechanics. Again, I'm going to go deeper into that in my next video. I've been researching that, I've been dealing with that, you see. But again, that's why it's an eye. So they're talking about alchemy. And in that book of Cagliostro, where he learned the alchemy, he learned the stuff, where he actually learnt it, right? That was forbidden in Kemet, because alchemy was a forbidden art in Kemet. Not anybody could deal with that. And he asked the guy, is this forbidden knowledge? There's no knowledge, it's forbidden. But if you take this book out this temple, I'm going to kill your ass. Because again, that's like, it also shows the Masonic element right there. It shows the initiates, how the knowledge was kept in the temples. And alchemy was a forbidden art. You see what I'm saying? You see, so what else we got here? Right, let's see. Also, but at the end of the movie, they flipped the whole scenario, right? And brought a sort of timely. So what the guy did was, Doctor Strange went to the dark realm, the dark dimension of Dormammu, and brought time to him. And so they flipped it. So on one instance, they're not talking about real time. They threw the time in there to throw you off. They're really talking about alchemy. Then when he brought the time to Dormammu, what they're dealing with on that aspect now, they're talking about melanin in a physical body. They're putting the melanin in a physical body, which is the alchemical transmutation based on the melanin now. Alchemical transmutation that put melanin in the physical body, right? So that's what it's talking about. They're putting melanin in the physical body, and when he kept killing Doctor Strange, showing the cycles of reincarnation, right? And then in the end, Dormammu gave in, showing how time and the physical world, the physical body, is the enemy of the melanin. It traps the melanin, right? So Dormammu, melanin now, was held hostage, right, by this time, showing how the physical body is the enemy of the melanin. It keeps the melanin trapped. You see, the physical world is the enemy. Now, again, now in the end of the movie, now another aspect of this is that the black guy Mordo, who was the student or the apprentice of the Ancient One, found out that she was actually tapping into the dark forces. So she was telling them it's forbidden, the alchemy is forbidden, while she was tapping into the alchemy, tapping into the melanin, the dark side of it right there. She was tapping into it. See what I'm saying? So showing you how evil is good. You see what I'm saying? The concept I've been dealing with in other videos. Evil is good, right? And that which is evil is simply an opposing force, a misplacement in time and space. But that same evil can be used for good. You see. So, on another aspect now we're closing out right here. On another aspect now, it shows how Dormammu was actually the good guy, right? You know what I'm saying? He was actually the good guy who wanted to end the realm of hell, of time and space. He wanted to end the realm of this physical world, which bring forth the paradise of immortality, right? An eternal life free from the corruption of the physical body, right? You see what I'm saying? Free from the corruption of the physical body. So he was actually the good guy. Now, also now on the final note now, also when the Ancient One died, right, Doctor Strange unknowingly became the Master. So when she died now, he unknowingly just happened to take her position right there. He became the Master, showing how the student must eventually become the Master, right? And so it shows how the mastery is not a title that's given to you in a school, or you got a master's degree or this, the master's. That's not the title, right? That's not how you become the master, right? A true master is when you earn the role based on your responsibility, showing that you're ready for the role right here. You see what I'm saying? Showing that you're ready for the role, right? You see what I'm saying? And also, if you notice at the end of the movie now, he made a bargain with Dormammu. So he actually used the power of the dark dimension for the greater good. But he originally criticized the Ancient One for using the dark dimension, but then he himself had to rely on that same dark dimension for the greater good. Again, showing you how evil is good, but it's only based on your perspective right here. So again, this Doctor Strange joint right here was a deep movie right here. A deep occult movie. You see what I'm saying? They put a lot of stuff in there to throw you off. A lot of people who are not in the know, they put a lot of stuff in there to throw you off. But the real movie was really dealing with, it's an occult movie basically. It's an occult movie. And it was not dealing with the physical, even though they had a lot of physical elements. The watch alone gave it away. You see what I'm saying? But that was a deep occult concept that not everybody would have caught that part. That was for the occultists right there. So again, it's a pretty deep occult movie right there. You know what I'm saying? I may have to watch the movie again just to really grasp, you know, just to go deep into some of this stuff right here. But again, it's a quick breakdown right here. So, see what I'm saying? Just a quick breakdown. See what I'm saying? So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you did some good information from this. Alright, black people. Thanks for watching.